So what I want to speak about more in this video is about the spiritual connection, but I want to speak about it through the analogy and what you can experience through dating and relationships. So I touched on a little bit about this before, in like the 7 levels of heaven and how that can also be referred to as a relationship. But specifically, I want to speak about like the spiritual connection and how that one in itself is very similar to what it's like when you're dating. And so when you're dating people, you can either do it in a way which I feel like a lot of teenagers, it's glamorized in the media as to how you would want to do it, as to be cool. And that is that you kind of get into it quick, it's easy, and you also are doing so on a short-term basis. There's no real intention from the very beginning that we're going to build this huge marriage and community and make it amazing, all these things like that. The thing from the beginning is, let's just satisfy our surface level needs in the moment and try to solve the problems and issues that we've got going on internally through, with a long-term problem through a short-term solution. And so people go and they start sleeping with one another and go to bed with one another and do so in the club and meet people on a physical level and have the attraction based upon the benefits that it can give you immediately. But they don't think about what the consequences of those benefits are going to be if they are to interact with that person and have that experience with them momentarily. And so when you are dating, right, then it's like the modern way of approaching relationships, which we know to not necessarily work too well, because most people are either getting divorced or there's like a 60% divorce rate, or they're just struggling to even be with a partner. And that's one of the reasons to why so many people stay alone right now. They stay single, is because they're just more so bothered about having those casual interactions as opposed to having something of substance and substantial and meaning and spiritual connection within it. And so the thing about, if you go back to what it was like in traditional times, is that people would do more so what we call courtship as opposed to what it was like to do dating. Now, I'm not saying that one is better than the other, because I do believe that through this modern thing there's a bit of an evolution as well, but it's to an extreme. And so when it comes to courtship, that's another extreme where people would come together, and if they wanted to be with one another as 2 romantic partners, then they would be together, but they would do so under supervision. And I believe that there is some utility that comes from doing so under supervision, because from there, you're not going to bring in somebody and through the infatuation to everything that is physical and seeing the benefits that come immediately. Through the infatuation, you're not going to make a stupid decision because somebody else is supervising you and giving you the confirmation that this is a good thing that you could be doing right now. And so you have to make sure that you're listening to the outside perspective when you're going into that. But the thing for me is, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the best thing to do, because if you are more so being influenced by that person and they're the decision maker, then that's when it's not really the best thing, because at the end of the day, it's not them in the relationship. So I feel like that's where courtship goes wrong, is when the decision comes from the outside above, but if the decision is being made by the 2 individuals and they're then getting confirmation from other outside sources as well, I feel like that can be quite helpful. And so the thing about this is that when you make that spiritual connection, it's not just about having the strong feeling that you get from the infatuation. It's also about, because that good feeling can be confused with dopamine, as opposed to being something of like a genuine connection that you have with this person where you're compatible. And so where people go wrong in relationships is that they look more so towards chemistry instead of compatibility. Really what you want to have is something that's compatible with you based upon, or someone who's compatible with you based upon your unique purpose, your destiny, all of the things about you which make you you and your vision, things like that, which we're going to go into in the next video. But instead of having the chemistry and infatuation, I want to do more about compatibility, where you're not going to meet this person and you're just going to instantly go for it based on like an animalistic viewpoint of it. It's more so you're responding instead of reacting, right? You're thinking from the beginning to be proactive about who it is that you want to be, who it is you want to be with. And so the best way that I can pull this all back to what it's like to build your legacy when it comes to, financial success, the business and things like this, is that it's the exact same thing, where at the very beginning, if you are infatuated, if you are only in the business that you're in because of chemistry instead of compatibility, because it doesn't actually match you on a spiritual level, then it's always going to have an end date. It's always going to have a short-term result instead of being a long-term result that you can get from that particular business. So you want to make sure that you are spiritually connected with it. And sometimes what it is that some people are in businesses where they have the potential to have the spiritual connection. So this is a funny thing. Some people are in businesses where they have the potential for spiritual connection, but because they didn't do the work initially and understanding who they are as a spirit instead of as a physical being, then they are unable to see how they are so compatible with that other entity, with that other business. And so really what you want to do is have that self-awareness from the very beginning, which will allow you to then make that spiritual connection. So we're going to go deep into, in the next video, how you can become a lot more self-aware so that when you're making that decision about who you're compatible with or like what business you're compatible with, it's going to be so friggin' simple because you have all the answers in front of you. So we're going to dive into that on the next video with the 5 questions of the heart as well. So I'll see you on that one.